start taking new actions. Because the action, I say, is the proof of a new mindset.
You told about 7 evolutionary tools in your introduction. So could you please tell about them and provide a practical scenario where these tools are applied to overcome resistance to change and foster growth within a company?
Great question again. The 7 evolutionary tools are tools that I use in all the work that I do. Because what they are about is they are about creating entrepreneurship or creating an entrepreneurial mindset. Hello, everyone. Very glad to be here and to be with Priya in our podcast. My name is Patricia DiVecchio. I am the CEO and founder of an organization called International Purpose. It started from a belief that I have, and knowing that everyone has a purpose. Everyone has work to do that's unique to them. So I believe there should be no unemployment, and everyone has a right to very good work. And so I work with individuals, and I do coaching. I do one-on-one work with them. I do groups called Purposeful Business Circles, retreats, workshops, and I work from a process called 7 evolutionary tools. And these tools we have inside of us. Like the first one is mindset. And I have a book out called Evolutionary Work, Unleashing Your Potential in These Extraordinary Times. And I'm going to reach over here 1 minute to grab one of these books. And I'll be talking about this as we move forward. But I do take notes. Take notes, because then you'll remember what you wrote down. I'm going to be asking you some questions. Priya is going to ask me questions. I'm going to ask you questions. And my goal is to have all of you leave with 2 to 3 action steps, because we need to act. We can't just listen. We need to act. And I think that's me.
Yeah, you highlight very important point. It's very important to act instead of just listening or instead of just sitting and doing nothing. And
Right.
your idea, your focus of everyone should be employed, it's a great. So could you please elaborate on the concept of changing the way they change for International Development Organization, and how does this mindset shift play a role in creating a more future-oriented approach?
Very good question, Priya. Very good question. We tend to think based in the past, based in how we've always done things, and we keep repeating that past. Well, that's not going to move us forward. That's not going to give us what I call is the future of choice. So we all need to decide, what's the future I want? Where do I want to be in 3 years and 5 years? And then we have to think and act into that future. So if in my future, I want to be working, let's say, with many of you, then I have to think about, well, what does that mean? What are the thoughts I need? What are the beliefs I need? What are the assumptions I need? What are the actions I need? Because I can't just think about them. I can't just think about what I want to do. I have to act on what I want to do. And that's very, very important. I think we need to be changing what I call our paradigms. Like the paradigm of work and business is very old. It's old, it's outdated, it doesn't serve young people, it doesn't serve many people. That needs to change, because there are many young people, maybe like yourself, who don't have good jobs or right jobs or don't have the business they want. And that needs to change. And we can change it. We can change it. And there's a process. There's a process to change it. Yeah.
Everyone say that young people is a backbone of the country, backbone of the nation, but very few people I have seen who took initiative to help them. And I'm so proud to have you today on this podcast because you are one of them who want to work with young people and want to make the future secure, which is very important. So you
Mhm.
have mentioned the importance of overseas initiative being led by the people in the country themselves. So how do you
Mhm.
facilitate this transition and ensure that local leadership takes the forefront in development projects?
Another very good question, Priya. You've done your homework. Well, the people who live in the countries that are being served know their country best, right? They know their challenges. I'm not an expert on what I do. I'm a facilitator. I come and I ask questions. I ask questions so I can find out, what are your needs? What do you need? What motivates you? What's going to move you forward? How can I help? That question of how can I help? And then I can tell you how I can help. I can look back at myself and my education and my experience and create a program that will help you. But you have to tell me first, what's most critical for you in creating a business or helping poverty. I mean, there are many, many, many issues in the world, and there are more and more, and it is going to get harder before it gets easier. That's why we need to step up to the plate. We have to develop ourselves as individuals, our capacity to think about the future, to act on the future. No one's going to do it for us. We have to do it ourselves.
Yes.
Mhm.
And this the quote came, God had those who help themselves.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
So the idea of evolving oneself and one business for increased value, impact, and income is intriguing. So could you please share any specific success story or example where the small business experienced significant growth through this approach?
Yes, I can share some examples of some clients I have. So I have a client named Helen. Helen and I have been working together for probably a year. She lives here in the US. She lives in Maryland. She's from Ethiopia originally. So she has a makeup business. She sells lipstick like I have on here and blush, etc. And all of that is produced in Ethiopia. She has stores in Ethiopia. And the reason she does this work is because she wants to create jobs. She wants to create new work for people, not just in Ethiopia, but in Africa in general. And she's doing that through selling makeup. It's like the makeup is sort of the front of the business. It's what people see. And in the background, it's creating work. So we were working on some emails and thinking about, okay, what are the subject lines that we have to put in so people will read the emails? And we started to think about buy makeup and help to create jobs. That could be a subject line. Another one could be look great on Zoom and create new businesses. We were tying together the makeup and the creating jobs and the creating businesses. Instead of just saying, try our eyeliner. Anyone can say that. And that could be any product. But you see, Helen's product is unique. It's unique because it serves a higher purpose, right? It serves a higher purpose. It's a socially responsible business. So that's one example.
Yes.
Mhm.
And I think the tagline plays a very important role in this. Is it?
Yes,
Okay.
the tagline for, yeah, exactly. Very important.
Yes. So you told about 7 evolutionary tools in your introduction. So could you please
Right.
tell about them and give a provide a practical scenario where these tools are applied to overcome resistance to change and foster growth within a company?
Great question again. The 7 evolutionary tools are tools that I use in all the work that I do, in my groups, in my retreats, in my speaking engagements. That's the background, the 7 evolutionary tools, because what they are about is they are about creating entrepreneurship or creating an entrepreneurial mindset and creating new work. And it doesn't just have to be new work in terms of an entrepreneur. It could be new work in terms of an organization. You know, we need to start looking at our employees differently in organizations and start looking at what makes them unique. You know, rarely is an employee asked, what are your unique skills? It's not. You know, they're asked, do your skills meet this job description? And if it does, you're hired. But if it doesn't match up, you're not hired. But they're not taking advantage of that employee because they don't know their unique skills. And our unique skills are our strongest skills. So here's my first question to the audience. What are your strongest skills? What do you do actually that's easy, effortless, and exciting? What do you do that comes natural? What do other people say you're good at? So I'm going to throw a question over to Priya and ask her to answer that question. So Priya, what are some of your unique skills, would you say?
Okay, my unique skill, like according to people, which I get the compliment most of the time, is my communication skills, how I listen to other people and how I interact them, and how perfectly, not perfectly, but how I better answer those questions. And second is how to handle each and everything with positivity, with the smile, and making everyone smile and laugh. So I think these are the compliments I get most of the time from the people.
Right, right. And, you know, I don't know Priya real well. We're going to get to know each other better as we keep working together. But I would also say she's very generous. She's very giving of her time. She really wants to help young people. So I would add those things to the list.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That really
You're
means.
welcome. So they're all in this book. It happens to be on Amazon. I'm not sure if you have access to Amazon. It's also an ebook. And if you want to, I can send you the introductory chapter. So tool number 1 is all about mindset. Everything starts with your mindset, be it positive, be it negative. Whatever you think is what you create. So transforming your mindset to the future of choice is tool number 1. Transforming your mindset to the future. So you actually are thinking like a futurist. You're looking at, okay, what does the world need? And what can I offer? Actually, you first look at you and you say, what am I uniquely talented at? How do I package that into a service or a product that meets a deeper need in the marketplace? That's actually tool number 3. So tool number 1 is positive future mindset. Tool number two is actually that one. It's looking at what are my unique skills and talents? How do I package those into a service or a product that meets a deeper need in the marketplace? Everyone can do that. Everyone can create their purpose. Everyone. Tool number 3, you have to be very strong to do this. It's called creating an inner foundation. You have to be self-aware and self-confident and self-responsible and self-disciplined in order to do this. You need to be accountable. You need to listen to others. You need to ask for help. And you need to not sabotage yourself, because there's also this part called self-sabotage. We get in our own way. We stop ourselves from our greatness. So tool 3 is that strong inner foundation, like a house. You have to build the basement very large, because you have a lot of good work to put up there. Tool number 4. Tool number 4, I love this one. It's called fear as an ally. Okay, fear has our better good in mind, because fear's a motivator. Now, one thing I ask, so this is action number 2. I'm going to ask all of you to draw your fear. It always works. Always. You can draw anything. You know, my fear is usually other people's voices out here saying, Patricia, who do you think you are? You can't do that. Blah, 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 blah. That's what my fear looks like. So that's what I have to conquer. But if I know that, then I can do something about it. Usually fear has us by the neck, in a sense. It stops us, it pulls us back. But if we can recognize it for what it is, it's not real. You know, it's these voices out there that are in my head. Might be my mother's voice or someone else's voice, but I cannot let that stop me. I cannot let that stop me. You have your own voice to listen to. Okay, so that's tool number 4. Fear is an ally. Tool number 5 is about wisdom. Wisdom is a part of the next evolutionary leap. We are all very wise. We just don't know it. To solve the complex problems of today and tomorrow, we need more than our intellect. Our intellect is often based in the past. It's based in how we've done it, right? Our education and our old experience. But we need to look at our head, our heart, our intuition, our body, our wisdom. We need a more holistic way of solving problems. For example, and this is actually action number 3, think of a problem you have, a challenge you have. Ask your head, how do I solve that challenge? And then ask your heart, and you're going to have a very different answer. And then you look at what I call is middle ground, because there's a saying that goes, the best decision is made when the head and the heart agree. So if I say, you know, if I have an issue and it is, you know, I'd love to do a workshop with all of you. My head is going to say, how are you going to do that, Patricia? You don't know who's on this podcast. How do you get a hold of them, et cetera, et cetera? My heart's going to say, wow, yeah, I really want to do this workshop. We'll get it done. And then the two of those meet. Those two of those meet. And usually the heart wins out. But you have to listen to your heart. Most people don't know how to talk to their heart. You have to learn how to talk to your heart. Okay, that's tool number 5. Tool number 6. Tool number 6 is about this is the time. This is a critical time for us to be doing this work. We are facing climate change. We're facing more pandemics. We're facing wars, and we are all one. We have to realize that we are all one, and we need to take responsibility for our part. My part is by helping you and other people create good work that helps other people. There's a ripple effect. You know, Priya's part right now is by sponsoring these podcasts, getting the word out to a lot of people on different things that are happening in the world, so the world changes, so the world improves. That's what we have to be doing. That's our responsibility, my responsibility, your responsibility. So here's action number 4, I think. What do you want to make better? So that's the question. What do you want to make better, or what do you want to improve? And I'm going to again throw that over to Priya. So Priya, what do you want to make better or improve?
I feel that the thing which I really want to work in my life is my spiritual journey, because in the recent years I have seen money come and go, people come and go, world keep changing, but it's very important to work on yourself. And so yeah, that's the reason, and that's the reason I'm used to wake up at 4 a.m. doing meditation 2 hours. So I want to work more on my
Mhm.
spiritual journey.
Wonderful, wonderful. I include that on my list for sure. I meditate in the morning and I read from some inspirational works and I write letters to God. And that's a key. Our spirituality is very, very important. Our connection to a higher being, whomever that might be, our connection to the universe. Very, very important. So you write down, what do you want to change? What do you want to improve? That's tool number 6. Tool number 7 is everyone has purposeful work to do. You have to decide. And then in tool number 7, you can create your vision and your mission and your strategy and your audience. So that's where you do the hard work. Well, everything else is the hard work. But the other tools are inner tools, all about you. So you become stronger. So you know who you are better than you've ever known before. And then in tool 7, you put it down on paper and you say, what is my vision that I want to see? I decide, you decide. So that's the next question. What's the vision of the world you would like to see in 5 years? What's the vision of the world you would like to see in 5 years? I
Okay.
would like to see my work in many, 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 many places in the world.
Wow. Amazing.
And that's it. Those are 7 tools.
Perfect. I believe these 7 tools are not important for a particular thing, but I think these are the 7 rules of the life. It's very important to have the purpose. Why you wake up every morning? What is the reason?
Mhm.
And it's very important to have the wisdom to choose one choices. It's very important to respect the time. So I believe these 7 things should be a rule of life, before starting a day, before sleeping. So I think it's perfect comprehensive
Yes.
book you wrote.
Yeah, thanks, Priya. Thanks for making that connection because I believe it's very true. We can all use these 7 tools. And this is actually a workbook. And here you have exercises, just like I've been giving you
Mhm.
action steps.
Yeah, the way you are asking the questions, in the same way, the book also is like help
Yes.
us to know more about ourselves.
Right,
Okay.
right.
So
Yeah.
in the starting, you mentioned that you went to Nepal, Afghanistan. So could you please tell how you approach to different culture, their social, economic context, and while still maintaining your vision of evolutionary change?
Mm-hmm. Good question. So in Afghanistan, I was actually hired by the Dutch government to train teachers in a 2-year college how to become coaches. They wanted to learn how to coach their students because their students that came from Kabul and other areas, they would come to school and they would study and do schoolwork, but they would also come sometimes with a negative mindset because they were worried. They were worried about their parents back home or worried about the future. They were insecure. They didn't have the confidence and the courage they needed. So I went there to teach these instructors, the professors, at a 2-year college. It was an agricultural college. What they did was they taught students that went to agricultural high schools. There are 150 agricultural high schools in Afghanistan. And these students go into these high schools, and some of them come to this college. And what they do when they're done is they go back into the high schools to teach. So they're learning how to teach back in the high schools. So one thing I really talked a lot about with these instructors is about the large vision. I think the larger the vision we can create for ourselves, the better. So I kept telling them You are coaching these students to go out to 150 high schools, and they're going to impact thousands and thousands of students who will then impact thousands and thousands of more people. There's a huge ripple effect. So I kept saying that to motivate them, to encourage them. And they became wonderful coaches. We videotaped them coaching. And it was just amazing. It really was just amazing. Actually, the director and I we were crying during some of those videotapes because they did so well and they cared so much for their students.
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So that's one example.
Perfect. So you have the concept of renewed future versus business as usual is powerful. So the concept of renewed future
Mhm.
versus business as usual is powerful. So how do you address or push back from business or organization that might be resistant to these questions, or who want to explore mission strategies and experiences in depth, providing valuable insights to your podcast audience?
Good question. Because there are a lot of organizations and people who don't want to change. They don't want to change. Change is not easy. Change is much more difficult than we think. I thought I was always good at change. Not so good. It takes me a long time to change because the changes we need to make now, I always say it's not a change from A to B. We need to change from A to H. We need to make big changes, not small changes. And we have to prepare people for those changes, those big changes. So I think what needs to happen is we have to help people first make small changes. One of the action steps, this is the next one, I think it's number 6, maybe. I'm losing count. This is the action step. Do one thing every day that you're afraid to do and write it down. Do one thing every day you're afraid to do. And what you're going to be doing is you're going to be building what I call is your risk muscle. Risk is like a muscle. The more you risk, the more you can risk. And at the end of the month, you would have done 30 different things. And that it could be anything. It could be making a phone call to someone that you've been wanting to talk to for a long time. It could be updating your resume. Just do it. And it's better yet if you even have a partner, because this is not easy. You need encouragement. You need accountability. That's often where we fall short. We cannot always be the best accountability for ourselves. We let ourselves slip. So we need to have partners. You need to have partners. And we do that in our groups. We call them purposeful business circles. And we come together every month and we talk about our action steps from month to month to month, because the goal is to keep moving forward. Keep moving forward. And that's true for anyone, for an individual, an entrepreneur, an employee in an organization. You want to keep moving forward. And if you run up against an issue, then you ask for help. Ask for help.
Perfect. I think the podcast with you is one of the values or lessons I have learned in my life. Those 7 tools are very important, and it's very important to counter your fear instead of running from them, because it's a time where you need to handle your fear so that it should not be weakness for you or strength for someone else. So I think you have highlighted a very, very important points which everyone should apply in their life, not only young people but children, older people, mid-age people, because everyone should have the purpose, everyone should have the wisdom, everyone should have the time, everyone should know what they are going to do. So that's all from my side. The last thing I want to ask you, that do you have any message for your audience?
Start taking new actions. start taking new actions. Because the action, I say, is the proof of a new mindset. If you do a new action, you're also changing a mindset at the same time, both. If my mind is full of fear, I'm not going to move forward, or I'm going to make excuses for myself. We're very good at that. Us human beings make a lot of excuses for ourselves. Stop making excuses. Stop comparing yourself to anyone else. Stop gossiping. Just look at you. Look at you, and your next step can be very small, but you need to keep going, and surround yourself with other people that do the same thing. Surround yourself with people that are positive, proactive, productive. 3 P's. Write that down. Positive, proactive, and productive. The 3 P's. That's how you'll be successful. If you want success in your life, you have to work for it. It's not gonna come to you on a silver platter. Never does. So I think, yeah.
So I just remember one story while you were sharing this thing. So I would like to ask one question from you, if you allow.
Sure.
So there are 5 birds sitting on one line. Okay. 4 of them are deciding that they will fly. Okay. So my question to you is, how many left on the wire?
5. There are 5 birds. 4 of them decided, but they didn't go, right? So did one go? Did you say that one went?
No. I'm saying 5 birds are there. Okay. 4 have decided that they will fly. Okay. So my question is that how many birds are left on the wire?
5.
Exactly. So could you please tell how 5?
Right. Because the 4 only decided, they didn't act. They decided. Decision is not an action. If you make a decision, you then have to decide what's the action that follows that decision.
Absolutely.
That's a good analogy. Good analogy.
Great, then. That's all from my side. Thank you so much for being a part of this podcast. It really means a lot. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. It's wonderful.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.